Yeah, my name's Wally Stewart. I'm a Walbunja man from the far south coast of New South Wales. I'm an applicant for the South Coast Native Title Claim, and I'm a representative for the South Coast Aboriginal Fishing Rights Group. Yeah, so today we had a meeting with our because the South Coast people put a class action on fisheries for the discrimination that we've been facing down here for the last 30, 40 years. And so we had our lawyers came down and do a presentation and a Q&A to our community about the class action so they can understand the process of it and where to from here, basically. So we had a really good roll-up. We had people come from Lapa, even people who used to live in Eden, are living in Melbourne now, drove all the way down, and people up and down the coast. We probably had about 50, 60 people here, and it was a lot of it was a great presentation. So they have their head around the class action now and what it is, and understand, and there was a lot of questions asked, and so people have went away with with a bit of a clearer picture of what the class action is and how they fit into this class action, because it's the class action is put on there for all the South Coast people. For the far South Coast Native Title Claim, all the members in that are part of this class action. They're either in or they're out. It's up to them. Mm. But it's because of the damage that they've done and the law that fisheries have discriminated against our rights. There's a law there that came with native title called Section 211 of the Native Title Act that gives us a right to hunt, gather and fish. And in New South Wales, for the last 30 years, fisheries have choose to ignore that Commonwealth law and police us under their state regulations, and it's done a hell of a lot of damage to our community. So that's what the class action basically is about. So people didn't understand that they even got a right under native title, and fisheries had to amend that Fisheries Management Act to accommodate that native title Act that gives us that right. It's the Commonwealth law that sits over the state.
What are some of the damages?
Oh, the damages it's massive. We done a case study with IATSIS in 2015, and it highlighted that it didn't just affect one person; it rippled right through our community. And how that works is like so when people were fishing, and fisheries were coming along and booking them. They'd get some of them would get their first criminal record from fishing, but they seen it as culture fishing, and then they weren't able to access their diet because we're constantly getting police. So that their diet changed. We've got heart disease, diabetes, and there's a fair amount of exercise in it. And there's so a lot of our people were overweight, and it highlighted that we were low in protein and iodine, something that we get from seafood. And then people were getting their first criminal record, and there was also people getting going to jail and coming out with mental health issues and didn't understand why they've been put in jail because all they seen it as a culture fishing practice that was handed down to us for thousands of years, and all of a sudden fisheries come along here and then just take it away from us and start policing our mob, and and then it's the loss of culture because we're too scared to teach our kids to fish because we're basically every time we turned up at the water, the fisheries and the police were there prosecuting us, and so that handing down that culture was like we're teaching them how to be criminals because that's how we were treated. So we've actually challenged. So in the last 10 years, we set up the Aboriginal Fishing Rights Group, and we challenged fisheries and used Section 211 of the Native Title Act every time they went out and find someone or try to prosecute someone for fishing. We came behind them and worked with some good lawyers, pro bono lawyers that came on side and challenged them and used Section 211 of the Native Title Act as a defence. Mm-hmm. And then we started winning the cases, and they were throwing them out at the last minute and stuff. But so that's how it is. It's basically been for the last 30 years they've discriminated against our rights, and to hunt and gather and fish. And like I said, they nearly severed our cultural way of life down here. We've got a long history of people on the South Coast really connected to the ocean. It's probably one of the strongest claims in Australia when it comes to native title, because it shows that all our evidence is coming out that we're sea people and we relied on them, the sea and the estuaries and for our way of life. 90% of our food source came from the estuaries and the ocean, and fisheries come along with and just took that away from us and totally discriminated against the land, the Native Title Act, and nearly severed our way of life. So we've been trying to hang on to that, and this is how the class action came about. So it's 40 years basically of fisheries and New South Wales government basically, and then now the problem is we got down here is they damaged our water with the way they've managed it, because they've got an abalone industry, and they were taking up to 350 tonne of abalone out of it, out of our waters, and now they're down to 100 tonne a year, and they still try to say that it's sustainable. So it's like it's like a protecting, a protection racket. They were protecting the abalone industry, so they'll police us just to protect them. But now we see we've got 450 kilometres of coastline under claim, because our claim goes 3 nautical miles out to sea. But our mob have identified now that a lot of our sea country is gone because of the overfishing. So we've done a survey with our own mob, because I keep coming back and saying them places where our fathers taught us how to fish and to go fishing and look after them places, they're not there no more. And we're saying, well, why? What do you think it's from? And they say, well, we've watched the abalone divers come in there and take, big bags and ride in close with this hooker gear, air compressors and stuff, and and there's nothing there. And then so the sea urchins have moved in, and then they've ate all the kelp, and it's just bare rock, and and we call it sea urchin barrens. And so our mob's really concerned about that now. So we're trying to put programs together to remove some of them sea urchins and grow that kelp back, and hopefully can restore that balance. But it's our people are still angry for being prosecuted for what they do and what they're taught, and it's part of who we are. But they've actually starting to focus on, shit, we better start doing something about it. So hopefully even the native title, that'll give us some right to have a say in management, and so we can start looking after our water together, and get some justice out of the discrimination that's happened to our people for the last 40 years. So that like down here on the south coast, like abalone and lobsters was just like part of our diet. It's like bread and butter to us every day. You could walk around on the low tide, and you could pick them up. That's how thick they were. But it's not like that now. But yeah, our mob call them. They'll just call them mutton fish. But the traditional name for them is wakama. So that's what mutton fish are, or abalone. The market with the abalone industry, they send them all overseas. I don't know how they keep protecting that industry, because it only sustains a few jobs, but they waste millions of dollars on policing blackfellas and sending people to jail and the court system and stuff like that. It's unbelievable. So you can see that they've been protecting that industry for a long time.